It was business. Despite growing up in Los Angeles, I never participated in a school play or anything else, while I was a college student studying business. However, Tom Selleck married under a false identity in 1987. Even his identity was unknown to the minister. They had to hurry to fix the marriage license before dinner because they had forgotten it. However, that covert nuptials were only the beginning. A son who became addicted, a water theft issue, and a helicopter death on set. On live television, Tom acknowledged that he might lose everything by 2025. This is the tale of a man who had everything and saw it fall apart. On January 29, 1945, Tom Selleck was born in Detroit. His father, Robert, was a real estate investor, while his mother, Martha, stayed at home to care for the family. Tom was the second kid, and Robert was also in the Army at the time, working on B-29 bombers during World War II. Two more siblings, Martha and Daniel, eventually joined him after his oldest brother, Bob, had arrived a year earlier in 1944. Back then, they resided in Detroit, a noisy, factory-filled metropolis. However, Tom's early years will shortly undergo a radical transformation. When Tom was only 3 years old in 1948, his father made a significant choice. He relocated the entire family to California after leaving Detroit. He had accepted a commission-only position in Los Angeles at Coldwell Banker. That implied no compensation promise or income. The risk was enormous. Sherman Oaks, which at the time was still primarily farmland, is where they settled. Robert thought there were more opportunities in California, and his gamble eventually paid off. He was earning close to the president's salary of $70,000 annually in commissions by 1960. However, it wasn't easy for Tom to grow up in California. He began to rise above the others in height. He eventually grew to 6. He was noticeable in every classroom even as a child. School was difficult at times because he felt awkward and odd, but he gradually started to use his height to his advantage. After joining Grant High School's basketball team, he excelled as a player. He was a baseball player as well. He got up thanks to his body, his determination, and his coordination. However, that did not imply that life was easy. Something that might have ended it all happened when Tom was 17. He was heading down Mulholland Drive's treacherous turns in a vehicle with 2 friends. The vehicle got airborne, lost control, and crashed. The red Chevy Corvette belonged to his mother. The tragedy was so severe that it was featured as the first story of his biography, You Never Know, published in 2024. Even though they lived, Tom was eternally altered. He became more cautious and considerate as a result. He never forgot his near-death experience. Robert's early years in California were difficult, despite his eventual success. The family had financial difficulties. Tom worked as a result. He acquired a part-time work at a clothes store while he was in high school. Even after enrolling in acting classes, he continued to work there. Valley Junior College allowed him to remain at home and save money, which is another reason he chose it. He returned to the store immediately after enrolling in 20th Century Fox's acting program, and subsequently losing that opportunity. He never considered work to be beneath him. He took the necessary action. Although he had always wanted to go to USC, he was initially denied a scholarship. He desired USC so much that he declined a full basketball scholarship to Montana State. So he went to Valley College first, worked, and saved money. He eventually got accepted at USC in 1965. In 7 games, he only managed to score 4 points while playing for the basketball team. He scored 0 points in 3 games the following season. He needed better defense, the team observed, but he was speedy. His aspirations for sports quickly evaporated. He acquired side employment while pursuing a business major. He was a school representative for United Airlines. And in 1965 and 1967, he was coerced into playing the dating game by his Sigma Chi fraternity friends. Both times he lost. It was embarrassing, yet in some way, that humiliation led to an opportunity. He was given the opportunity to try out for a Pepsi commercial after a casting agent noticed him. He received the part. He only needed to do a basketball slam on video. During the shoot, he consumed so much Pepsi that he became ill. However, his offer from 20th Century Fox was directly influenced by the $1,000 from that advertisement. Then everything changed with the Vietnam War. Tom received his draft notification in 1967. He enlisted in the 160th Infantry of the California National Guard rather than going to war. His tenure spanned 6 years, from 1967 to 1973. After completing training at the California Military Academy, he advanced to sergeant and then second lieutenant. He also responded to the Watts riots in Los Angeles at one point. However, the price was high. He was dropped by Fox while he served. Even during tryouts, he kept his outfit in the trunk of his car, ready to be used at any moment. He trained with Milton Katselas at the Beverly Hills Playhouse after he started performing again. It was intense. Katselas was an unforgiving instructor. It felt more like a cult than a classroom, according to others. Every time he entered, the pupils had to stand and applaud. He yelled and applied pressure. In order to feel angry, he advised actors to tear out their own hair. He was referred to as abusive by some. He was referred to as intelligent by others. Tom, however, persisted. He bore at everything. Several said that Katselas was using the class to recruit, despite the fact that he never joined Scientology. Tom modeled for Salem cigarettes to earn money when he was in college. His tall stature and tidy appearance made him ideal for advertisements. His United Airlines job paid less than those cigarette ads. However, those previous advertisements came back to bother him as he rose to fame with Magnum Pie. He was questioned by reporters about his promotion of smoking. He detested their inquiries. He did not want to be known as an adolescent cigarette salesman. He made a silent effort to get away from it. The dating game tormented him from 1965 to 1967. He began to doubt everything after losing twice on national television. It was the most embarrassing thing he had ever done, he told AARP. He was not helped by his appearance. His charm was ineffective. He began to feel uncomfortable on film. The second defeat was more painful than the first. He carried that memory with him for years. He was cast in Jude for the Defense in 1969. It was a significant break. He made the other performers appear little because he was 6. Scenes were difficult for directors to shoot with him. He was even informed by one agent that his height was an issue. Imagine getting let go because of your height. It was heartbreaking. He had to take on little roles for years in order to continue playing the game. He made 6 appearances on the Rockford Files between 1974 and 1979. He portrayed investigator Lance White. His career should have benefited from it, but he had a falling out with James Garner, the star behind the scenes. Tom wanted his persona to seem authentic. Garner wanted Lance to be more of a joke, to be goofy. They clashed over direction, tone, and lines. It was clear that there was tension. On set, a few scenes were rewritten. The division was palpable to the crew. The job felt heavy because of the fighting. He starred in the low-budget horror film, Daughters of Satan in 1972. The Philippines is where it was filmed. The set was dangerous. The special effects for a fire scenario were not very good. The real flames were too near. Tom sustained minor burns. His hair was charred. The crew was unable to effectively communicate. Despite the language barrier, they had to see the film through to the end. Nobody discussed the actual events. It was covered up by the studio. Despite his fear, Tom was forced to continue. Charlie's Angels offered him a short chance in 1976. He portrayed a boyfriend. However, he was let go after only one episode. According to Leonard Goldberg, the Angels appeared too little because of Tom's height. There was no chemistry, they said. The program became popular. Tom, on the other hand, went back to doing ads. He only owned one outfit and wore it to every audition because he was so penniless. Tom wore that same costume both on and off camera, according to Robert Solon, the director of a soap opera. Tom Selleck nearly left the part that made him famous. He detested the original Magnum Pie script when he initially read it. It wasn't the witty, intelligent person we know today. Magnum was a cartoon representation of James Bond in the initial draft. He possessed a hang glider with machine guns, a nasty dog, and a residence on seashore cliffs. After 6 failed pilots, Selleck spoke to the producers and said, "I don't want to play what I look like." It felt like his final attempt. He was not going to pretend, though. He listened to Donald Belisario when he said, "I want a character with humor, not just action." After the filming had begun, he completely rewrote it. Although the modification caused CBS anxiety and production delays, it preserved Selleck's career and the show. When Tom first met the lady who would change his life in 1984, he was still married to Jacqueline Ray. Gilly Mack was a British actress who performed in the West End production of Cats. The show became Tom's obsession. He returned again and time again. Jane Seymour, his co-star, found it odd. She replied, "I liked Cats, but I didn't understand why he returned 12 times. The tabloids went crazy at the time. There were rumors of an affair. People tried to prove something by following her and him." Gilly had no idea who Tom was. 3 months prior, her TV had been stolen. They would have quiet dinners after the performances, but she had never seen Magnum Pie. Even after Tom and Jacqueline got divorced in 1982, people kept speculating if Jill had something to do with it. For years, the shadow dogged them. In 1980, Tom came very close to playing Indiana Jones, right before Magnum really got off. He had been selected by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. During the audition, they adored his chemistry with Sha Young. However, there was an issue. Tom was already a CBS signee. He was honest with Spielberg. CBS refused to let him go. At CBS, Bob DeLuise was stern. Not a film. The irony then struck. Magnum's production was put on hold for 6 months in 1980 due to a Screen Actors Guild strike. He might have filmed Raiders of the Lost Ark through that very window. Tom waited in Hawaii instead. Harrison Ford, meanwhile, assumed the part and rose to fame all over the world. That single choice might have cost Tom more than $100 million. He later stated, "I didn't see myself as a victim, but I wasn't happy about it." Tragic events occurred on the set that same year. Robert Vanderkar, a 33-year-old camera operator, died in a helicopter crash while filming. Robert Sanders, the pilot, lived, but he suffered severe injuries. Off the shore of Oahu, they had been filming a standard ocean scene. Sanders repeatedly dove to try to save Vanderkar when the helicopter went down. He didn't escape. Tom was devastated. He insisted on change. He had a safety dispute with Universal Studios. He requested enough briefings, more coordinators, and backup helicopters. Studios claimed it was too expensive. In the end, Tom's stance compelled changes throughout the business, saying, "It's lives we're talking about." Over 50 million people watched the last episode of the show by the time it finished on May 1988, but it was a fight going on behind the scenes. CBS sought an early cancellation. In Season 7, they attempted to murder Magnum. After being wounded and going into a coma, the final shot showed him moving in the direction of the light. Fans, however, were incensed. He had to return for Season 8 on CBS. Millions were lost. Each episode's budget has skyrocketed to $1.2 million. They requested that Tom hire less expensive performers, stop using helicopters, and shorten location shooting. He declined. The show would be ruined, he said. It turned into a never-ending battle. In Magnum, Tom did more than just act. He kept it safe. Tom featured in 3 Men and a Baby in 1987. It earned $167 million. However, an odd event occurred. People saw a boy standing motionless behind the drapes in one instance. The apartment was said to be haunted. There, according to some, a boy had died. The legend spread. Tom clarified it on The Tonight Show years later. It was a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson from a scene that had been cut out. Instead of being shot in an actual apartment, the film was shot on a soundstage in Toronto. Nevertheless, the ghost story was adored. The rumor was never corrected by Disney. According to some, it increased VHS tape sales. Tom shot Quigley Down Under in the arid Australian outback in 1990. It wasn't simple. He handled difficult situations, performed stunts, and rode horses. He had issues with the terrain, the heat, and the manner in which Australian workers operated. Although the film did not do well, Roger Ebert was pleased with his performance. It had trouble recovering its budget. Nevertheless, it was one of his proudest parts, according to Tom. Tom was once more on the list when Batman appeared in 1989. Charlie Sheen, Kevin Costner, and Mel Gibson were also. It was Michael Keaton. At first, fans detested that decision. Warner Brothers received 50,000 protest letters, but the film made $411 million. It permanently altered superhero movies. Since Tom was still bound to Magnum and comic book movies weren't popular at the time, he declined. He later acknowledged that he regretted it. Mr. Baseball was released in 1992. Tom was transferred to Japan as a waning Yankees star. It was weird, yet funny. The film depicted cultural conflicts between Japanese and American baseball. Real players traveling to Japan used the film as a teaching tool after Tom put in a lot of training. However, the box office did not do well. Critics described it as disorganized. After years of hits, it was his first major miss. Subsequently entered and exited in 1997. On television, Tom gave Kevin Kline a 12-second kiss. His supporters were surprised by that one time. He is given to conservative candidates and served on the board of the National Rifle Association. People questioned whether the position conflicted with his beliefs. He was an actor who performed the role, and he claimed, "I make faces in front of a camera. That doesn't make me Solomon. In addition to making news, the kiss paved the way for additional LGBTQ plus characters to appear in mainstream movies. Tom appeared as Monica's older boyfriend in 10 episodes of Friends between 1995 and 2000. He struggled with Chandler's snarky tone on set. He repeatedly sought assistance from Matthew Perry. The audience went crazy when Perry attempted to mimic Tom's mustache. When Tom's character later made a joke about it, he said, "Nice mustache. It will kick in when puberty strikes." The cast erupted in laughter. Tom attempted a major TV comeback with The Closer in 1998. It didn't work. 10 episodes were broadcast. The ratings weren't good. It was not a hit with critics. Tom was devastated. He retreated to his 63-acre property for a full year. He claimed to have learned resilience and failure from it. Jesse Stone followed. He starred in 9 television movies that were adapted from Robert B. Parker's books between 2005 and 2015. Even the latter ones he began co-writing. They outperformed network shows in ratings and were well liked by older audiences. But a plagiarism accusation hurt them hard. Tom allegedly stole his ideas, according to another author. A covert agreement was reached. Nobody discussed it in public. The films continued till 2015. Tom made an appearance on Boston Legal in 2006. It should have been easy, but the liberal cast of the program didn't get along with his real-life NRA role. Gun control was prodded at in the scripts. The tension increased. His opinions were contested by cast members at table reads. Tom subsequently stated that it was a contributing factor in his decision to leave the NRA board in 2018. He received plaudits for his performance in Ike Countdown to DDAY 2004. New Zealand is where he shot it. Each day lasted 18 hours. He was under a lot of pressure, and it almost ended his marriage to Jill Mack. He claimed that he was physically and emotionally exhausted by the filming. The job of playing Eisenhower permeated his everyday life. Tom portrayed Frank Reagan on Blue Bloods from 2010 to 2024. He received $200,000 every episode, making him the highest-paid actor. However, in order to rescue the show in 2023, CBS urged the actors to accept a 25% pay cut. Tom concurred. He lost $1.2 million. Nevertheless, the performance was canceled. He expressed his frustration. He pleaded with CBS to think again. December 13, 2024, was the date of the finale. A poem was recited by him. CBS refused to back down despite the cast and crew's tears. Tom hurt his knee doing a stunt in 2015. It resulted in years of suffering. He had both knees replaced by 2025. Long scars were shown in photos. He required assistance from a truck since he had trouble walking. Even though he needed assistance to perform basic scenes, he persisted. He came up with the idea for Blue Bloods family meal sequences. He desired for them to feel genuine, like members of his own family. However, he quarreled with authors behind the scenes. Some storylines, he claimed, were too woke. Members of the cast used strategies to avoid eating. Before learning, Vanessa Ray once consumed 17 rolls. Tom simply buttered his. Filming ceased in 2020 when CO struck. Tom did not leave his ranch. His age was 75. The weight of everything began to weigh on him. Fear, aging, and agony. He acknowledged his depression in You Never Know, his memoir published in 2024. The severity of the arthritis was increasing. He required assistance walking. Every shoot turned into a battle. However, he arrived. In 1971, Tom Selleck married Jacqueline Ray, a model who supported him when no one knew who he was. She helped him throughout his most difficult years, when he had little money and few acting jobs. She had faith in him for over a decade. But something changed when Magnum Pie made him famous in the early 1980s. Both fame and temptations came quickly. Jacqueline first saw him on TV, with local women while they were filming in Hawaii. It dawned on her then. She was losing the man she had loved and stood by through it all. According to friends, he fell in love with the attention and island life. She was deceived. She only received 3 years of assistance, a car and the house after their 1982 divorce. Despite all the sacrifices she had made, that was it. Tom was married again in 1987, just 5 years later, but this time in secret. He had watched Jilly Mack, a 25-year-old British dancer, in Cats repeatedly since 1983, and had become completely enamored with her. They assumed fictitious names when they eventually were married on August 7, 1987, near Lake Tahoe. Jill used Susie Mark, and Tom changed his name to Tom Jenkins. Up until the very last minute, even the minister was duped. Before supper, they had to send someone sprinting to Reno to fix the marriage license, because they had forgotten it. There was only family, just Polaroid cameras to keep things secret, no media. However, the couple still had problems despite the concealment. In the beginning, Tom's workaholic tendencies nearly destroyed it. They even required therapy. Hannah, their daughter, was born in 1988. She was born in Ventura County on Tom's 63-acre avocado ranch. It appeared to be a dream life at first. However, Tom later acknowledged that the remoteness of the property made things more difficult. Because he felt like a ghost in his own house, he had left Magnum Pie. He stated that he wanted a genuine life in addition to a career. Filming, however, kept him at bay. Additionally, Hannah spent a large portion of her early years by herself, surrounded by animals rather than friends. 13 horses, sheep, cattle, dogs, and bunnies. It was a peaceful and somewhat isolating life. She claimed that without her parents' help, the ranch life may have drowned her, and horses were her escape. Additionally, in 1987, at the age of 21, Tom adopted Kevin, Jacqueline's son. However, Kevin too had a difficult existence. His mother considered sending him to boarding school when he was barely 15 years old. In his 20s, he began drinking excessively. Tom had to take him to the Betty Ford Center for treatment. Kevin continued to struggle even after that. He was sued in 2011 for more than $6,000 in credit card debt. Additionally, Kevin struggled to find his way, even with Tom's wealth and celebrity. According to friends, Tom tried everything: money, counsel, and independence, but nothing helped. The entire family was affected by the tension. According to accounts, Kevin recovered after getting married and having 6 children, but the anguish persisted. Tom had paid $5 million to Dean Martin for the same 63-acre ranch back in 1988. But the tranquility was short-lived. For allegedly taking 1.4 million gallons of water, the Water District filed a lawsuit against him in 2015. There was a 36% forced cutback in his area, and California was experiencing one of the worst droughts in its history. According to investigators, Tom filled a public hydrant 8 meters away with water 12 times, using a tanker truck. Just proving it cost the district $21,685. Tom ultimately paid that sum to resolve the matter and quit drinking water. However, that was not the only issue facing the ranch. By 2023, severe droughts had decimated almost all of his 2,500 avocado plants. 25 oak trees that had stood for almost a century perished. It shattered Tom's heart, who is now 79. In 2012, he acknowledged that generating revenue from avocados has never been easy. "I don't even like them. Why eat them when I can sell them?" he jokingly remarked. But by 2023, the company had totally failed. Then 2024 arrived. His longest-running show, Blue Bloods, was canceled. Tom had been making roughly $4.8 million a season, or $200,000 per episode. On CBS, however, he expressed uncertainty about his ability to pay for the ranch without a job. "Am I set for life?" he asked. Yes, but perhaps not on a 63-acre ranch. He had borrowed between $15 and $16 million in the 2000s, but the ranch was now worth $12 million. The remaining amount was unknown. To keep the show afloat, Tom even offered CBS a 25% pay cut. It didn't work, despite his claim that we're the third highest scripted show. We're winning the night. Tom's health began to deteriorate by 2025. He was hardly recognizable at 80. According to his acquaintances, he appeared trashed, unkempt, and had a protruding tummy. He had once used an ATV to fly around his property, inspecting wildflowers and performing manual labor. He could hardly move now, though. In 2024, he underwent bilateral knee surgery for arthritis, leaving prominent scars on both legs. His constant hunger was exacerbated by sadness and the drugs, particularly prednisone. He began consuming fast food covertly, while concealing packages of burgers and chips. His pals thought he was killing himself. He was now 6 and about 350 lbs. Physicians cautioned that he may already have insulin resistance. He had a significant risk of heart attack, stroke, or worse because of his advanced age, obesity, and drugs. Even his wife Jill, who remained by his side, was exhausted. He was unwilling to give up. Although experts warned he might not have a choice, he admitted that retiring worried him. Acting was becoming too much for his body to take. He continued to cling on, though. He and Ellis Henkin co-wrote the memoir, You Never Know, which was published in May 2024. In an instant, it became a bestseller. He talked about everything for 320 pages. Stories of his early years, Mae West parties, roles he declined, how fame altered him, things he regretted, and things he didn't. That was when he was most forthcoming. In 2025, CBS attempted to continue the tradition with Boston Blue, a Blue Blood spin-off centered on Donnie Wahlberg. Tom desired to participate. He pleaded. He pushed. However, his health might prevent him, according to insiders. He needed support just to walk. His group remained silent. Wahlberg stated that because Boston and New York were close, there might be cameos. Everyone knew it would be difficult, though. People close to Tom thought he might ultimately retire by 2026. His body was shutting down, even if he didn't want to. He needed to focus on his intellect. He needed a purpose for his soul. But his knees, his heart, his weight, they were all screaming for rest. Once a source of tranquility, the ranch now felt like a burden. He was afraid of losing it. Time was passing quickly, but he stated, "I need to keep working enough to hold on to the place." He might soon vanish into that ranch, according to friends. Across 63 acres of quiet, there is only Tom, his wife, and their memories, far from Hollywood and cameras.